Hello and welcome to the Martini Shot. Today we'll be reviewing Mortal Kombat 2 and making a smoky cola drink called
Noob Saibot.
This is inspired by the resurrected Sub-Zero from the film, although they don't actually call him Noob Saibot because the filmmakers are cowards. This is a tart, sweet, and smoky cocktail. Let's get right into it. In a shaker, you'll need half an ounce of lemon juice, about 6 blackberries, 2 ounces of Japanese whiskey, half an ounce of a raspberry liqueur, and about a bar spoon or 1/4 ounce of mezcal. For a little extra color, we're going to throw in a pinch of black sugar, then add ice and shake until chilled. Once you're done, double strain it into a rocks glass over ice and top with your cola of choice. And for a little extra flair, we're going to give it a quick smoke. Just be sure not to overdo it. And once you're done, you'll have the Noob Saibot. Now that we have our drink, let's get right into the review. Mortal Kombat is one of my favorite games that I am absolutely dog shit at. I can't string combos together to save my life, but that's not why I really love these games. I like them because they're just a candy store of interesting characters, great designs, and heaps of lore that doesn't make a lick of sense. But that hasn't stopped the series from trying to inject a little bit of storytelling into its bones, whether it be through the games or with a handful of movie adaptations. When it comes to theatrical live action, the series doesn't have the strongest track record. You've got a campy kickoff, a follow-up considered to be one of the worst movies ever made, and a modern reboot that nailed the aesthetic while forgetting that movies also need to have good characters and interesting dynamics. But if you enjoyed that previous film, then I've got good news, and if you didn't, then, well, you probably already know. Mortal Kombat 2 is perhaps the most true to form the Mortal Kombat movies have ever been, wherein it's colorful and fun to look at while having an absolute nonsense narrative. The characters do look their parts, but their characterization is so flat and boring that it often borders on being unfun. The film is stuck between being cheesy and self-serious, not really fully committing to either, leaving you with a slew of good moments that have to live right alongside half-hearted moments of sentimentality. The storytelling is, unfortunately, just not strong enough to make this balance work, so the movie relies on keeping the action constant and plentiful to make up for it. That's certainly welcome, but outside of a few gory fatalities, the action often doesn't manage to hold a candle to what the action genre has accomplished in the past few years. You could call this for the fans, and as a fan, it's pretty much exactly what I expected, but that doesn't mean it's really all that good. For starters, the film has a bit of a main character problem, unsuccessfully juggling the new characters taking center stage while also giving enough play to the returning cast. Johnny Cage, played by Karl Urban, is a washed-up action star who is pulled into the world of Mortal Kombat, basically the same kind of setup with Cole Young from the first movie. Don't worry if you're not a fan of that OC, by the way. That's all I'm gonna say. Urban does have his moments, but his performance is so wooden, mostly due in part to the character being as flat as a board. It's the same washed-up hero act we've seen before, and the film rushes through giving Cage any real depth or emotional moments. And I hate to say this about Urban, but his performance just isn't funny enough to kind of let that slide. The story leans into the more pathetic side of Cage every now and then, but there seems to be this resistance to really go all in to make his eventual turn into a hero all the more satisfying. Newcomer Katana, played by Adeline Rudolph, has the most interesting background out of the two leads, and I kinda wish the film had her more front and center. There could have been more turmoil over betraying her homeland in order to defeat her evil adoptive father Shao Kahn, or more push and pull between her and her longtime protector and friend Jade. She's easily the heart of the film. A heart that is barely beating after being ripped out of the chest, but it's still a heart. Speaking of heart ripping, Josh Lawson's Kano is back, and he is the best part of the movie. Everything he says is just so funny, and even though his entire inclusion in this movie is so shoehorned and needless, I'm happy for it because he makes everyone else look worse by comparison. Seriously, everyone else is either an exposition machine or a background filler, while Kano is the only one I actually got excited to see in each scene. And Kano ties into this film being a lot more funny than its predecessor. The comedy doesn't always work, but it does make the film feel a lot more fun in comparison. The cheese isn't cranked up to the same levels of the original films, but I do think this was needed. For how serious the games are, there's no real way to approach this source material without being a little tongue-in-cheek. That being said, the more serious moments feel really jarring to the rest of the film. They try to add some emotional weight, but it honestly just feels kind of insulting with with how half-assed they come across. They go through all the cliches you'd expect, struggling to build an enticing narrative around the central idea of the film, which is just punching a hole through a guy's head. There is actually a Mortal Kombat tournament in this film, even though the rules are insanely loose and apparently don't matter. It's supposed to be fights to the death, but the film doesn't want to kill off too many of its main characters, so some fights just end for no reason. There's also a moment where someone switches sides right as the tournament ends, which restarts the final fight. Where is the referee? Do something, Blue! Maybe these basic storytelling beats would be more serviceable if there was an interesting style to the film, but you're not really going to find that outside of the fight scenes. Narrative weakness aside, at least the fights are good. Right? Well, some of them. When they're focused on spectacle and solid use of the environment, they can be. The fight between Johnny Cage and Katana has some solid use of the area, while Liu Kang's first fight is quite flashy and has some solid uses of special effects. But for me, so many of these fights feel heavily choreographed, more like a dance than an all-out brawl to the death. It can make it feel like a lot of fists are thrown, but rarely is anything hitting or causing lasting damage. And when the special effects get brought in, things can be a tad mixed. The whole look of the film sways in quality, with green screens looking too obvious at times, and some particle and light effects looking shockingly bad. I hate to say it, but I hate the Baraka design here.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Doesn't look much better than the Halloween mask the original character was created with. I'll be fair, I enjoyed this more than I was expecting to. I can chalk this up to Kano making me laugh every time he's on screen, and to the occasional good fight that actually looks visually impressive. The quick pace of this thing certainly helps, wasting no time and getting right into the action. But with flat characters, the bland story, and the hesitance to do anything all that stylish, this just seems destined to be a film remembered less for the movie itself and more for its Mortal Kombat 2 all fight scenes compilation video on YouTube. You know they're coming, and they just might be the ideal way to watch this thing. For my rating, I'm giving this film 2 pairs of sunglasses out of 5. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Martini Shot. If you saw Mortal Kombat 2, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. And if you like what you saw here and would like to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me across all social media channels. Those links are down in the description below. And if you enjoy movie reviews and movie-themed cocktails, be sure to check out my website, martinishot.blog. Until next time, thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Live deliciously, but please remember to drink responsibly.